Good morning, my dear students. Good morning, one and all. Welcome to the fifth lecture of the topic. This is the final topic. The topic name is Supply Chain Risk Modeling and Management. So, according to Hitachi Solution, has been explained about the supply chain risk modeling and management process. You know, the supply chain is the gas that makes the motor run for manufacturing and retail. Without it, you have no product to sell and no inventory to stock and no revenue to earn. Unfortunately, there will always be disruptions to the supply chain that throw everything out of whack and force both retailers and manufacturers to scramble to pick up the pieces. In a Gartner survey, only 24% of respondents stated that they had a highly resilient network, though more than half expected to be highly resilient. Within a few years, that's a positive sign. But what exactly can be done to get ahead of those supply chain risk factors? The proper supply chain risk management enables businesses of all shapes and sizes to take advantage of tried and true strategies that mitigate risk and set them up for success. In order to develop your own risk management strategy, it helps to first understand what supply chain risks you might face. So, what are some supply chain risks? Supply chain risk management refers to the process by which businesses take strategic steps to identify, assess, and mitigate risk within the end-to-end supply chain. There are both internal and external risks that can disrupt your supply chain, so it's helpful to understand the difference between the two. So next one is we discuss about the external supply chain risk, and the name implies there is global supply chain risk come from outside of your organization. Unfortunately, that means that they are harder to predict and typically require more resources to overcome. Some of the top external supply chain risks include the demand risk, because the demand risk occur when you miscalculate product demand and are often the product of a lack of insight into year over year purchasing trends or unpredictable demand. Next one is supply risk. Supply risk occur when the raw materials your business relies on are not delivered on time or at all, thereby causing disruptions to the flow of product, material, and or parts. And third one is environmental risk. Environmental risk in the supply chain is the different and direct result of social, economic, political, governmental, or environmental issues that affect the time of any aspects of the supply chain. Next one is business risk. Business risk occur whenever unexpected changes take place with one of the entities you depend on to keep your supply chain running smoothly. For example, the purchase of or sales of a supplier company. Okay, the next one is to discuss about the internal supply chain risk. This refers to any supply chain risk factors that are within your control and that can be identified and monitored using supply chain assessment software, robust analytics program, IoT like Internet of Things capabilities, and much more. Although internal supply chain risks are more manageable than external ones, they are still and to some degree unavoidable. Here's what to look for. Number one is manufacturing risk. That manufacturing risk refer to the possibility that a key component or step of your workflow could be disrupted, causing operations to go off a schedule. And second one is business risk. Business risk are a product of disruptions to standard personnel management, reporting, and other essential business processes. And next one is planning and control risk. Planning and control risk are caused by inaccurate forecasting and assessment and poorly planned production and management. Next one is mitigation and contingency risk. So mitigation and contingency risk can occur if your business doesn't have a contingency plan and for supply chain disruptions. It is very important that you have a complete picture of a supply chain risk factors you are susceptible into order to get ahead of potential disruptions. So familiarizing yourself within any type of potential issues that might arise put you in a better position to implement supply chain risk management strategies. So there are technologies available that provide visibility into products as they move through the supply chain, thereby enabling you to identify potential risk factors. For example, certain solutions use predictive and prospective analytics to transform historical data into business insights. Others use APIs to pull data and status the updates from third-party vendors and suppliers, as well as external data sources to provide a holistic, real-time view of the supply chain. The next one we will discuss about the supply chain risk management strategies. In today's connected and digital world, supply chain risk mitigations can be difficult due to globalization and potential cyber interference. That said, there are measures you can take to reduce your business exposure to risk. Number one is leverage the PPRR risk management model. The PPRR risk management model is a popular global supply chain risk management strategy and is used by business around the world. The PPR stands for prevention, preparedness, response, and recovery. The first one is we need to discuss about the prevention. Take precautionary measures for supply chain risk mitigation. And next one is preparedness, development and the implement a contingency plan in case of an emergency. Third one is response, execute on your contingency plan in order to reduce the impact of the disruptive event. Fourth one is recovery, resume operations and get things running on at a normal capacity as quickly as possible. The second one is manage environmental risk in your supply chain. So this is more important than ever given that the COVID-19 pandemic exposed gaps in global retail and manufacturing supply chains that leave them prone to disruptions. So back in December 2019, many retailers were forced to reevaluate their vendor relationships because many of their suppliers and manufacturers were based in China, which was at the time the epic center of the break and out of break, and with the significant reduce of workforce, retailers struggled to process and get shipments out of the time, and there were questions of whether certain shipments would need to undergo quarantine before they could be delivered. As a result, some retailers decided to move from a single sourcing to multi-sourcing model, like which would provide them with a contingency plan should their primary supplier become unavailable. Others opted to change their business model entirely in order to adapt to the drastic changes in product seasonality and viability. For example, breweries and distilleries across the United States started to produce hand sanitizer on a massive scale, and Ford announced plans to produce ventilators for COVID-19 patients, coronavirus patient at one of its facilities in Michigan. And although there is no way to prevent environmental risk in your supply chain, you can plan for it because the supply chain assessment software enables you to take a proactive approach to risk management by providing you with greater visibility into structure of your supply chain. With such a solution, you will be able to identify the weak points in your supply chain and receive data-driven insight into how you can strengthen them. It's also important that you develop a contingency plan. Okay, my dear students, I hope you have enjoyed the fifth session and the course. Thank you once again, and thank you all.